Once upon a time in the bustling city of Lagos lived a young woman named Azuka. After Chuma sponsored her through university, her life had transformed from the dusty roadside where she roasted corn to the polished corridors of a multinational corporation. Azuka was brilliant, a rising star in her company, and her beauty had blossomed, no longer hidden by the soot of poverty but accentuated by designer clothes and a confident smile. She had everything a woman could dream of: a great job, a beautiful apartment in Lekki, and the unwavering love of her benefactor, Chuma, who was now her devoted fiancé. Chuma, ever the generous and hard-working man, had seen his own fortunes multiply. His business had expanded, and his love for Azuka had grown with each passing day. He saw her not as a project he had saved, but as the queen of his heart, the woman he wanted to build his future with. He showered her with gifts, supported her career, and his eyes held nothing but adoration whenever he looked at her. Their love story was the envy of all who knew them, a perfect tale of a prince who had found his Cinderella. But deep within Azuka, a seed of discontent had begun to sprout. She started to see Chuma's kindness not as love, but as an obligation. His generosity felt like a constant reminder of where she had come from. When he spoke of their humble beginnings, telling friends how he met her by the roadside, she would cringe inwardly, her face tightening into a polite but strained smile. The story, which once sounded like a fairy tale, now felt like a chain, binding her to a past she desperately wanted to erase. She felt that his love was a cage, a beautiful, gilded cage, but a cage nonetheless. One evening, at a high-profile corporate dinner, Azuka met a man named Richard. He was the CEO of a rival company, a man whose reputation was as sharp and polished as his Italian suits. Richard was everything Chuma wasn't. He was sophisticated, spoke with a smooth, international accent, and moved through the circles of the elite with an effortless grace. He didn't see a former corn seller. He saw a brilliant, ambitious woman, an equal. When he spoke to her, his compliments were about her business acumen, her sharp intellect, and her captivating presence, not her journey from poverty. Richard began to pursue Azuka relentlessly. He sent her rare orchids at the office, invited her to exclusive art gallery openings, and discussed stock portfolios and international markets over expensive champagne. He made her feel seen for the woman she had become, not the girl she once was. His world was a whirlwind of private jets, weekend trips to Paris, and a level of opulence that made Chuma's wealth, as substantial as it was, seem provincial and unsophisticated. The seed of discontent within Azuka began to grow into a thorny vine, choking the gratitude and love she once felt for Chuma. The phone calls with Chuma became shorter, her excuses for not seeing him more frequent. She started to find fault in everything he did. His traditional attire seemed outdated, his hearty laugh too loud in the fine dining restaurants Richard took her to, and his stories of helping people sounded less like kindness and more like foolishness. She convinced herself that Chuma was holding her back, that his world was too small for her grand ambitions. The man who had given her the world was now an obstacle to the bigger, brighter world she felt she deserved. The breaking point came one rainy Tuesday afternoon. Chuma, beaming with excitement, surprised Azuka at her office. He held a small, velvet box in his hand. He had just secured the biggest contract of his life and wanted to celebrate with her. He told her he had bought a piece of land in Banana Island, where he planned to build their dream home. He opened the box to reveal a magnificent diamond ring, larger and more brilliant than the engagement ring she already wore. But as he got down on one knee, ready to reaffirm his love, Azuka's face was a mask of cold indifference. "I can't do this, Chuma," she said, her voice devoid of emotion. "We want different things." Chuma's smile faltered, confusion clouding his joyful eyes. "What are you talking about, my love? I want you. I want our future." Azuka took a deep breath, the words she had rehearsed in her mind tumbling out. "I'm with someone else, Chuma. Someone who understands me, who sees my potential. His name is Richard." The hurt in Chuma's eyes was a physical blow, a pain so deep it seemed to crack his very soul. He stood up slowly, the ring box still in his hand, looking at the woman he had raised from the ashes, the woman he loved more than life itself. He didn't shout or cause a scene. He simply looked at her, a profound sadness washing over his features. "I see," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "I hope he makes you happy, Azuka. I truly do." Without another word, he turned and walked away, his broad shoulders slumped in a way she had never seen before. As he walked out into the rain, Azuka felt a momentary pang of guilt, but she quickly suppressed it. She had won. She had escaped her past and was now free to soar. Life with Richard was exactly as she had imagined. It was a dazzling blur of luxury and power. They were the city's new power couple, their pictures gracing the society pages of magazines. Richard was proud of her, showing her off like a prized possession. He helped her climb the corporate ladder, and within a year, she was made a director at his company. Azuka felt invincible. She thought she had made the right choice, trading simple, unconditional love for a partnership built on ambition and status. She rarely thought of Chuma, and when she did, it was with a touch of pity for the simple man she had left behind. However, life has a way of teaching lessons that can't be learned in a boardroom. About 2 years into their glamorous life, the tides began to turn. A global economic downturn hit Richard's company hard. Bad investments came to light, and whispers of fraud and embezzlement began to circulate. Richard, the calm and sophisticated CEO, became irritable and paranoid. The expensive champagne was replaced with hard liquor, and their conversations about stock markets turned into hushed, frantic arguments behind closed doors. One morning, Azuka woke up to find the house swarming with law enforcement agents. Richard was being arrested. The man who had promised her the world was led away in handcuffs, his face pale with fear. The company assets were frozen, including all of Azuka's accounts and properties, which were tied to the business. In an instant, her world collapsed. The designer clothes, the luxury cars, the Lecky mansion, it was all gone. Her so-called friends from the elite circles vanished, their phone numbers suddenly unreachable. She was left alone, with nothing but the clothes on her back and the bitter taste of shame in her mouth. Humbled and broken, Azuka found herself wandering the streets, her designer shoes, now scuffed and worn, feeling as tired as the one she wore when she sold corn. The city that had once celebrated her now seemed to mock her. She had nowhere to go. Pride kept her from seeking out her family. Finally, with no other option, she found herself walking towards the old neighborhood where Chuma's office used to be. She didn't know what she would say or do, but she was drawn by the faint memory of a kindness she had so carelessly thrown away. She found him not in a gleaming office, but at a construction site, his sleeves rolled up, sharing a simple meal of rice and stew with his workers. He looked older, and there were lines of hardship around his eyes she hadn't seen before, but his smile was the same, warm and genuine. When he saw her, his eyes widened in surprise. There was no "I told you so," no anger, no resentment. There was only a quiet, deep-seated sadness. Azuka broke down, the tears she had been holding back for months finally streaming down her face. She confessed everything, her greed, her ambition, her foolishness. She told him how she had thrown away true gold in pursuit of glittering stones. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She felt she didn't deserve it. She just needed him to know how sorry she was. Chuma listened patiently, his expression unreadable. After she was done, he sighed a heavy sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world. He told her that after she left, his heart was broken and he lost focus. His business suffered a major setback, and he lost almost everything. He had to sell his cars, his house, and start all over again from scratch. He had spent the last 2 years rebuilding, not his fortune, but himself. "I have forgiven you, Azuka," he said softly, his voice steady. "But I cannot forget. The man you left is not the same man standing before you today. You taught me a bitter lesson, that not all that you nurture will grow to love you. You were a flower I watered, but you chose to grow in a different garden." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small roll of cash. He pressed it into her hand. "This is all I can offer you. Use it to find a place to stay and get back on your feet. You are a smart woman. You survived once. You can survive again. But our story, Azuka, that book is closed." He turned and walked back to his workers, leaving Azuka standing alone, the money in her hand feeling heavier than any burden she had ever carried. She finally understood. She thought she had won by choosing Richard, but she had lost the only thing that ever truly mattered. She had gained a world of glamour but lost her soul. And as she watched the kindest man she had ever known walk away for the second and final time, Azuka learned the most bitter lesson of all, that sometimes the greatest treasures are not the ones you gain, but the ones you foolishly let go.